As we all know, Kent Hughes has made quite a big impact since joining the Montreal Canadiens organization. In just a short amount of time, he has made some crucial trades, some great signings, and all around some very big moves. So, in today's video, I'm going to be giving you my top 3 Kent Hughes trades. Now, just quickly before we get into the top 3, if you are new here and you do love Habs news, Habs rumors, Habs content, all of that good stuff, then I invite you to subscribe. I make daily videos, and I'm currently trying to hit 2,000 subscribers. Now, without wasting any more of your time, let's get into that top 3 list. Starting us off, at number 3, I have the trade that nobody expected to happen, and that is the Jeff Petry trade. Now, we sent over Jeff Petry and Ryan Poehling over to the Pittsburgh Penguins in return for Mike Matheson and a 2023 4th-round pick. And I've said this before in previous videos, I was not a fan of this when it first happened. I was quite disappointed, and I was not a fan of the return, especially after seeing the Ben Sharot trade and the Tyler Toffoli trade. That one was a big letdown, but coming back almost a year later now, this is a top 3 trade for me. So let's get a little deeper into this trade and let's just unpack it. So obviously we got a 4th-round pick in return. Usually 4th-round picks don't often make it to the NHL, but hey, Kent Hughes has been pretty damn good at drafting as we've seen last year. So that 4th-round pick can turn into an absolute stud, or it could be used to package to moving up in the draft. So we could still use a lot of things with that pick. Now, we also got Mike Matheson, which at the time, like I said, I was a little disappointed, but there was a lot of good things to like about him and some things to dislike. And now looking back a year later, it was an amazing move because Mike Matheson is like 6-7 years younger than Jeff Petry. This guy is born in Montreal, which means he actually wants to be here, and that's a huge bonus. And of course, in his first season here, he had a breakout season, and that is what you like to see. I mean, you got one of the smoothest skaters in the NHL in Mike Matheson, someone who can move the puck decently well, someone who's not afraid to throw the body, just a nice defenseman, and he really broke out to be Montreal's #1 D-man this year. As for Jeff Petry leaving Montreal, he was great while he spent his time here in Montreal. It was just a shame how he had to leave. There was a bunch of controversy and a bunch of things going on in his life, which you can't really blame the man. It was a tough time in the COVID years. So, he didn't really want to be in Canada, or at least Montreal. So we got rid of a guy who was 7 years older, someone who could not care one bit about playing for Montreal, for a guy, like I said, much younger, still basically getting into his prime, and who's from Montreal. It's an amazing trade. Now, we got rid of Ryan Poehling. Some people weren't happy with that. I wasn't happy with it at the time. But looking back a year later now, I don't think we really lost that much in it. So that does it for the Jeff Petry trade, which I have ranked as my 3rd best Kent Hughes trade. Now moving on to number 2, I have the big Ben Sharot trade. This was the trade where we sent over Ben Sharot to the Florida Panthers in return for a prospect in Tysh Milanek, a 4th-round pick, and an unprotected 1st-round pick this year. Now, for many, this might be Kent Hughes' best trade because a lot of us couldn't stand watching Ben Sharot any longer, and the Florida Panthers gave us an unprotected 1st-round pick in one of the most stacked draft classes in a long time. Now, the funniest part about this whole trade is that Ben Sharot only played a handful of games for the Florida Panthers. They gave us this haul for a guy that played the rest of the regular season after the trade deadline, and then played 10 playoff games? It was hilarious, and us Habs fans were laughing our way to the bank, thinking we just got the best trade in history. Now, the Florida Panthers ended up going up and down like a Bitcoin stock, and unfortunately, now looking back at it, they are in the Stanley Cup final. So, originally last year, we assumed that this pick would be in the late 20s because, they were a powerhouse last year. And then they sucked. They absolutely sucked. And we thought we were going to have another lottery pick. So life was great. And now, well, obviously, the pick is back in the 30s range. So it really sucks. It's kind of like an early 2nd-round pick. So it sucks in comparison to a possible lottery pick. But it is still a great return for Ben Sharot. Now that is going to do it for my 2nd best trade. Now moving on to the best trade. And this one was a blockbuster. A 3-way trade. It is the Kirby Dach trade. This one has a lot to unpack. To start the trade off, we had our emotions being played with. I mean, they announced that we traded away Alex Romanov, and we did not expect that to happen. So we sent away Romanov and the 93rd overall pick to the New York Islanders in return for the 13th overall pick. Now, it's really funny because a lot of people were upset in the moment because Romanov, he was kind of becoming a fan favorite, and people weren't happy that we got the 13th overall pick. They didn't think it was fair enough. But man, getting just the 13th overall pick for Alex Romanov, that's a steal in itself. Now, the trade did not stop there. Kent Hughes worked his magic and sent over the 13th overall pick, and then we added a 66th overall pick to the Chicago Blackhawks in return for Kirby Dach. And you know what? This was an amazing deal, and it is still an amazing deal. I mean, you have young Kirby Dach who had so much promise, so much talent, and you just couldn't find it in Chicago, despite being on a team with DeBrincat, Patrick Kane, Seth Jones, a lot of high talented players, and he could not find his jam there. And Kent Hughes found the perfect opportunity to swing in and buy low on this guy. He was a former third round pick, and he's been showing it. This season, he started to break out, and he started to look like a possible future number one center. He's starting to use his tools properly. He's using his body to be more physical. He's shooting more. He's able to carry the puck and drive the offense excellently. It's just a beautiful thing. And looking back, this has to be the best trade in my opinion. Or at least the best two-way trade in my opinion, if we want to get specific. So yeah, that is going to have to do it for my 3 best Kent Hughes trades. I expect there to be even more in the future because this guy, he just likes to keep making trades. I think Jeff Gorton is telling this guy to slow down, and he is. But I know he's got many trades coming, and I'm going to expect to see a big one during the draft lottery night. Anyways, guys, that is going to be all for today's video. Let me know down in the comments what your favorite trade is from Kent Hughes. Should I have put other ones in my list? Let me know. And yeah, if you did enjoy, don't be afraid to hit that like button and maybe even consider subscribing. Now, with that being said, I'll see you all next time. Take care.